Hi, everybody. It's Katharine and Dave here from Fantasy Fitnessing, and we are here for our quarterfinals news or noise podcast. We're just going to run through a few different athletes, sort of some outcomes from the weekend, and see what we think about things. Just cover off a few different athletes. So here we go. Starting off with Chandler Smith.
So Chandler Smith was second in North America on the men's side. To me, this is some big news for him in just his performance at this level. So last year he did finish 11th in quarterfinals, but then to see him bump up this year to second and to be in contention for first place. So he was, I guess, 26 points behind Medeiros. Like that, while it is just a few positions, it does to me seem like a big jump in competitiveness. So I'm hoping he is able to carry this forward. Liked what I saw out of the Open, like what I see here. So hopefully this translates through semifinals in the game. So I think this performance is something to watch.
Yeah, for sure. Seeing him up in second place is really good. He just had solid performances across the board. 15th, 22nd. He was 63rd in workout 3 for his lowest one, and then 14th and 4th. Like, those are just solid. And then onto the Brute Dudes 2.0, as Dave listed them.
So I guess we talked about the Brute guys last time we did a news and noise segment, and just really kind of highlighted that they were a team to be reckoned with. As the workouts got tougher, competition got tougher, I think we did see a separation between, true games, potential athletes, and top 20 type of athletes versus, some guys that need some potential work. So we have Phil Toon at 10th and Dallin Pepper at 19th on the men's side. So just extrapolating this out, those would technically be qualifying positions if this were semifinal, as they were both in the top 20. I would expect that to continue for those guys once we see the semifinals flesh out. Kind of expect those guys to be kind of in that top, 15 to 25 range at Madison, just based off the performances there. And then you got the other two guys. So Matt Poulin, I think he was around 50th or 60th in the quarterfinals, and James Sprague, which
Matt Poulin ended up 75th.
75th. Okay. So 75th, and then Sprague was 99th. So again, just to see, that type of drop from these guys, I think they're probably going to be on the outside looking in once semifinals hits. They do, or at least Sprague has a lot of, in-person experience to carry over, so he might be able to push himself up into a last chance qualifying position. But I think, for those two guys, it's going to be stretched to advance past semifinals.
Yeah. And onto Scott Panchik.
Scott Panchak, the retired athlete, finishes, was it 5th again this year in North America? I don't know. To me, if he goes to a semifinal, he is going to qualify for games, and I don't think he can turn that offer down. So he's got a repaired knee. I don't know if his dad's strength's just carrying him through from a training standpoint, but I don't know. If he goes to a semifinal, I expect to see him in Madison, retired or not.
Yeah, it'll just be interesting to see if he goes to a semifinal, or is this where he, like, his season ends kind of thing.
Yeah, kind of like what Rob Forte did last year in Oceania, where he was top 10 the Oceania region and just kind of bowed out to focus on coaching. I don't know. I don't know if Scott, does a lot of coaching from athletes of the gym. I don't know. Part of me thinks he's just too competitive of a person to kind of back down at this point.
Yeah, and kind of how he went out at the games last year with like the knee and stuff, not feeling his best. Like, I do think that he might be back to go out on like a truly high note. But random, Rob Forte is also 19th in Oceania this year, so he will probably be bowing out of the Torian Pro semifinal again. But it's great to see these guys that have just years and years of top end fitness still actually in the competitive landscape without focusing on it.
Both these guys have bragging rights, like Forte can grind Jay Crouch whenever he beats him at CrossFit Frankston, and Scott's got his brothers he can hang this over.
Yeah. All right. So enough of the old guys. Into Colten Mertens.
Yeah, Colton Mertens, again, he had a performance that kind of expect. There were workouts that he excelled at, so he had 220th place finishes, and then workouts that didn't play to his strengths that he struggled at. And so he had 104th, a 361st, and an 89th on the North American leaderboard. So to me, I don't know, it's going to be kind of a coin flip based off of the programming of the semifinal he goes to. If he has, events that plays to his strengths, you could see what happened last year. We had, 2 or 3 event wins and, 3/20ths, where if it's something that doesn't necessarily play to his strengths, you could have, 1 event win and 5 20th positions. So to me, he's a wild card for the games, just based off what we see here.
Yeah, I think that's 100% right. But he is pretty gritty when it comes into being like in live competition. He knows where his wheelhouse is and he knows when to send it and how to capitalize. So he'll be a good guy to watch through the semifinals and see where he lands.
Yeah, it's true. Like he does have that in-person experience to, be able to tie off of to see, when do I need to push and who I need to push against.
Yeah, totally. Next is Travis Mayer.
So Travis Mayer, I think he was kind of outside looking in, kind of in that, or not outside of the quarterfinals, but kind of in a 60th place to talk about, leading up to the Open. He kind of hinted he had some injuries going into or throughout the off season, which hampered his training a little bit. So to me, to see him kind of at that level kind of is some news and something to watch. Hopefully he's able to bounce back, since everybody loves to see him on the competition floor, but Father Time might be kind of chasing him down from this standpoint. So
Yeah, he was 63rd, had a 419th and a 209th, so and an 11th. So we'll just have to see sort of how this plays out through semis. And then Spencer Panchak.
So Spencer Panchak finished 11th in North America. But again, like this to me is some noise. He was 11th here. He was 10th in quarterfinals last year. Finished 27th in the Open this year and was 28th in the Open last year. So almost identical finishes for him for the first 2 stages. To me, it's how he is able to transition this into a semifinal performance. So I think that, even though solid results, I think for him, it's all going to come down to semifinals. Obviously, it's going to come down to semifinals, but I don't think there's anything we can take out of this performance that we didn't see last year.
True, and he was 7th at West Coast Classic last year, but he's also transitioning who he's training. Like Saxon's gone to Proven, and I believe Spencer is going to be one of the Brute crew as well.
Right.
So it'll be interesting to see how that, again, like Saxon's changed it for his reasons, but Spencer's probably changing it for the same ones. So it'll be interesting to see, like they have made changes, so there might be changes in the outcome of the season for him. But it's interesting, like identical 2 years in a row for the first 2 stages. And then another young gun to talk about is Tudor Magda.
Yeah, so Tudor. So last year he was, or I guess start with this year. This year finished 15th in quarterfinals, which was again a great result. Puts him right between, Toon and Pepper, kind of from a young guns type of standpoint. So he is only 19. What I like about Tudor is just his performance improvement from last year. So last year he was 115th in quarterfinals. So to jump up that high, given the level of field and the same competition type of quality, shows just a huge jump to me in his athletic ability and just his training and the gains that he built over the last year. So, he's someone to watch once we get to semifinals to make a rookie performance. Just on top of some of those other guys we talked about, he was 21st at West Coast Classic last year. So, there is room for improvement there from, his standpoint. So we'll just again see the in-person competition is if he is able to translate this 15th into a top 5 qualifying position.
significant improvement in quarterfinals is hopefully going to lay the groundwork for significant improvement in semis for him, because he's training with James Townsend. So yeah, should be fun to watch. And then moving over to Europe men, Willy Georges.
So Willie Georges finishes second on the European leaderboard. Missed the game season last year. I think he was with a shoulder injury. So he is an athlete we don't hear much from. I think there's his English isn't as good as some of the other European athletes, so he doesn't get on the podcast circuit as much as others. But to see him come out as second, he did have a comeback event at Dubai where he finished fifth behind who was on there. Kernikov won, Lazar Ducic second, Ricky Garard third, and Adler fourth. So to be just fifth behind those guys shows a lot from him, and it's interesting to see him to come through, and I would expect this to carry over to a games appearance. He was top 10 in 2018, I believe, so the pedigree is there. So.
Yeah, he's got the skills. So, and he's ahead of Ducic in quarters, so it should be fun to watch. It's always good to see people coming back from injury and surgery like that, especially second place. Like, solid job. And then on to a little South American men of Gui Malherios.
Yeah, so I started off with just kind of this being a noise type of segment. Just Gui winning South America wasn't really that big of a stretch, but then when CrossFit came out with the worldwide leaderboard, kind of caught my attention that he's second overall in the world. So to me, that stands out as something that we want to follow. Really kind of highlights that training with Rich Froning is kind of paying off. I guess you can learn some things there. So excited to see this from him going forward, just across the board. I just kind of as a side note on this, there was 4 South American athletes who finished in the top 40 worldwide on the men's side. So that strength of field at that kind of in that continent is quite strong. So to see those 4 athletes in the top 40, that field was a little bit more difficult than we probably gave it credit for going in.
And just a little shout out to who those guys are. So Guy was second on the worldwide leaderboard, and Augustine Riquelme was 13th. Nicholas Bidart was 21st, and Kaike Cervini was 39th. So I know a lot of people are talking about like European and representation and all that. These guys are here all in the top 40 of a worldwide quarterfinal leaderboard. And is it 1 or 2?
They get 2. So
only 2 of these guys will come through from the semifinals. I know some of them were possibly queued up to be on some of those teams that ended up disqualified. So they're going individual when team, I think, might have been their original plan. But yeah, that's impressive to see those guys all in the top 40. It's great to see. And then switching over to Oceania, we got Ricky Garard on top.
Yeah, so Ricky Gerard comes out, ends up winning the Oceania semifinal. I think by a decent margin, or I guess 3 points over Jay Crouch, who won it last year. I think that's big for Ricky. Just coming back, looks like he was assessed a penalty, which cost him some points in workout too, but was able to battle back to kind of that top spot. So good for Ricky Gerard. I think definitely see him kind of getting back into that elite conversation. So definitely something to watch.
Yeah, I was wondering kind of what was going on, because the disclosure of penalties has been less than, clear after the first few workouts. I was wondering what was going on, but obviously there's some penalties and stuff, but he came out and finished strong with second, fourth, and fourth. So that's great to see with him. And then Jay Crouch is right behind him.
Yeah, those two definitely create some separation in there. Although, so just while we're on that leaderboard, Bayley Martin will be an interesting guy to watch. I don't know if he'll be able to kind of make kind of that rookie games appearance this year, just edging out Baden Brown and kind kind of some, again, past games athletes with Swan and Newberry and Dunn. So it'll be interesting to see, again, from a competition standpoint, who's going to be coming out of the Oceania. It's going to be a grudge match for one of those games tickets.
Yeah, so apparently Bayley Martin is another teen male athlete. He was 13th at the games in 2017 and was 8th last year at Torian Pro. So,
but not a teen anymore. I think he's old at 22, but
but there's been a few like weird years in there in terms of like it could still be his like last year he was 8th, so he's still got some big boys to queue up against, but 3rd in the quarterfinals looking good. Next, let's switch over to the women and start with a little North America women action with some young guns of Emma Lawson and Olivia Kerstetter.
Yeah, so Emma Lawson, Olivia Kerstetter, both, legitimate in the teen division. Emma Lawson was the fittest teen on earth last year. From that standpoint, she finishes 6th overall, where Kerstetter finishes 8th overall. Lawson, 17 years old, going into this season, or her age 17 season. Kerstetter, 16, training kind of out of Jacob Heppner's old stomping ground there. So, fantastic performances. Just shows the depth of field and like the strength out of these teen athletes coming into the women's division, just following along with what Mal O'Brien and Emma Carey did last year. It'll be interesting to see what their next steps are. I don't know the rule book inside and out, so I hope they are able to qualify as teen athletes as well as give it a shot in a semifinal. I think it's unfair for them to have to choose one or another. And just risk giving up that game season, but phenomenal performances out of these two.
Yeah, and another that I'm just kind of looking at the leaderboard here is that 19th is Paige Powers is 19, so she's outside of those teen divisions now, but she is somebody that did compete as a teen. And I remember she was at Mayhem Classic kind of right before everything shut down, and yeah, she was one. I just seeing her there is great to see, and she's training at a CrossFit Mayhem, so she's another young gun to keep your eye on.
Yeah, and 3 behind her is Olivia Sulik at 18, so her first year in the kind of the main group. So there's 4 women under 20 without really looking too hard in the top 22. That's good for them.
Yeah, and then Freya Moose Brugger's 20, Alex Willis is 20. Yeah, there's lots. And then mixed in there, you've got Arielle Lowen, who is 28 and a mom and 10th.
Yeah. So I guess, Arielle Lowen, just to highlight her, so 10th here. I think last year she was about 6th in quarterfinals. To me, this just kind of highlights that she's the real deal. I think she surprised everybody winning Granite Games last year and then finishing top 20 at the game. So, to me, that just shows that last year wasn't a flash in the pan, and she's still got some good years competing there. So
yeah, it's great to see her up there. And then moving on to Oceania women, we've got Ellie Turner.
Yeah, Ellie Turner, again, just highlighting kind of the real deal. Finishes 3rd behind Tia and Kara Saunders, which isn't that big of a surprise, but put a lot of room between her and 3rd place, or her in 4th place, Bayley Rogers. So Ellie Turner had 27 points, Bayley Rogers in 4th with 54. So again, just kind of showing that she belongs in that top tier of competition. And then on the worldwide stage, I think she ended up ranking about 15th or so when you looked at the global leaderboard. So 15th. So again, really showing that she belongs in that top 20 conversation, even though, again, Oceania women, it's going to be a grudge match, just like the men's side. So,
yeah, all of her finishes were in the top 10. Her lowest was like an 8th and a 9th, and then Kara Saunders had 1/8, and then Tia just almost swept it of 3 firsts and 2 seconds, but that's not surprising. So it's great to see kind of like her finish is so consistent through a lot of this, because looking at a lot of different leaderboards, there's a lot of inconsistency that, especially with like the other total and stuff in there. It's good to see someone that's coming up the ranks to not actually see much of a hole anywhere. I know it's only 5 events, but it's still good to see. And then Jamie Simmons was 6th.
Yeah, Jamie Simmons, this one was kind of a bit of a surprise for me. Not, I guess, she came out when she had lights out kind of in the first first 3 events, was right there behind Kyra in 3rd place. But then, coming in with a 36 in the other total, I don't know how much of that was just not necessarily having the strength in the shoulder back yet versus, well, she's never really been known as a strength athlete. So that was one piece there. But then coming back with the 30th in event 5, just kind of having those 2 30th place finishes in the Oceania region kind of just, makes it more of something to watch versus her being a sure thing to get back to the games.
Yeah, it puts a few more question marks. When the weekend started, I'd say Ellie Turner had the question marks, but now I'd say it's Jamie Simmons in terms of who gets out of this semifinal. And switching over to Europe, got a few daughters to talk about over there.
Yeah, so I guess starting off with Katrin, to me, this was kind of a bit of surprise. I think she wasn't near the top of the leaderboard, but she was kind of, I don't know, top 50-ish in the Open, which again, we kind of just chalked it up to being the Open this year. But for her to finish 22nd in quarterfinals, again, raises some red flags for me about where she's at approaching this season. Going into the semifinals, she is, going to be a competitor there and is definitely someone to, watch out for and to take one of those qualifying positions. But, to be 158 points out of 10th place in quarterfinals, just, again, it's something that concerns me of seeing her back at Madison.
Yes, it's interesting to see her that low, especially some of the athletes that she's behind. Yeah, something just happened in that workout 2 and workout 3 for her, that she got 106th and 141st, because the other ones are 8th, 12th, and 22nd. So maybe she just needs a few more events to pull herself back up, kind of thing.
Interesting to see like what type of penalties. It's CrossFit hasn't posted anything publicly on their leader or on their page about who was assessed penalties. So can't remember. Somebody posted that they got a minute 9 penalty in event 2. So
I think that was Ricky Garard.
Yeah, so that could have easily knocked her back, 100 positions. So
true. Yes, those could have just been penalties and not actually at all a tell of her fitness. Hopefully, because the other 3 were great. And then we've got Sara Sigmundsdottir.
Yeah, so Sara Sigmundsdottir, 4th. Again, this it shows that she does still kind of have that elite level talent kind of in her repertoire. It just to me, she's always just been coming back. It's always been kind of a yo-yo of, yes, she's back. Oh no, there's some concerns. Yes, she's back. So I guess we're kind of in the yes, she's back phase. Finishing 4th there. I think she was like just placing worldwide, but she was also quite high. Yeah, so she was 7th on the worldwide leaderboard. Taking a look at just how they recalculated everything from that perspective. So I think that's kind of in the ballpark of where both of us kind of seated her in our last set of rankings. So, but again, good for her. Excited to see her come back in one of the European semifinals.
Yeah, just flipping back from Europe to worldwide, is that Sara Sigmundsdottir jumps above Emma McQuaid and Jacqueline Dahlstrom on the worldwide leaderboard. That Emma McQuaid goes down to 10th and Dahlstrom goes down to 13th. So there must have been a bit of separation on some of those events where they were in different orders. So yeah, it's great. I'm happy to see that we're in a Sarah's back phase.
Yeah.
I love watching her compete, so let's just stay in this phase. And then Laura Horvath.
So Laura Horvath was 9th in Europe, which I think caught a lot of people by surprise. But to me, like this is noise. So she did have a 90th in event 1, which had deficit handstand push-ups, which it's her weakness in her Achilles heel. But then she also, at least from a European standpoint, had a first in the total and a first in event 5, which again is Laura Horvath's playbook. She is going to excel in a lot of events. Last year at semifinals, she had 3 event wins. So again, the things that she does well, she does extremely well. And then there is just this one kind of Achilles heel that's going to get her at this standpoint, which I think just due to the depth of the field, or size of the field, I should say, and having only 5 events, it just really skewed the results here. So if we get to a standpoint in semifinals, there's deficit handstand push-ups again. There's no way she's going to end up finishing last in that event in a semifinals field. And then her strengths will just pull her through. So I'm not concerned about this at all. Expect her in Madison. And then even if they throw in some deficit handstand push-ups in Madison, I think just her strengths can pull her up to a podium spot. So.
And one thing, like it's her Achilles heel, but she's also only 90th in it. Like maybe Davidsdottir's had penalties, but she had 2 finishes over 100 in Europe. So maybe this is a strength that's getting, or a weakness that's getting less of a weakness. Like I'm happy to see that is only a 90th. I think that is saying something for sure. All right, and then one more athlete on the North American women's side is Alexis Raptis.
So Alexis Raptus finishes second, only 5 points behind Mallory O'Brien. So I think this is definitely, again, something to watch out of Raptus. She was seconds away from qualifying from the games last year. So she was 9 points behind Reagan Huckabee for 5th at West Coast Classic. But there was 2 events where if she finished less than a second faster, would have put her into a qualifying position. So even though she didn't make it last year, again, like 2 seconds was all the difference that kept her out. So again, another year of training. She done? Yeah, trying to think tank. Again, she's only 23. So I think this is definitely something to watch. Again, just kind of out of this youth movement in the U.S. To see someone come through like this. So excited to see Raptis take it to the next stage at semifinals.
Yeah, it was heartbreaking watching that finish out at the end of the West Coast Classic. It was tight. It was so close, which is awesome to see her up this high in the quarterfinal leaderboard. That maybe being close and not making it, I don't think it's going to be close this year for her. I think she's just going to make it. And then 2 other things sort of note that we posted on our Instagram is that Bethany Shadburn did have a back injury right before quarterfinals as she was warming up. So her season is over, which is so heart-wrenching to see. And then another couple people is Dave Shrunky didn't submit scores for his last few workouts. And then Manon Agonies didn't get her final scores in. Seems like there was sort of a bit of a mix-up and stuff there. So her season's over. And then one guy that we had in our game, and I picked him, and it was not good, is Lucas Hogberg is not moving forward. So those are a few little sort of notes of what happened over the weekend. Anything else?
Yeah, so I guess prior to the weekend kicking off, Emma Carey, I believe, posted something that she was withdrawing for the competition due to her back, which I think flared up at Dubai, I believe. So also, again, unfortunate for her to be out of the season. And as of this point, Sam Briggs did not make a qualifying position either. She was 66th in Europe, so right on the outside looking in. I can't remember last year of how many backfield positions came out of Europe, so fingers crossed we see her at a semifinal. But just if, as the chips lay today, Sam Briggs won't be moving on either.
Yeah, I can't remember how deep each of the backfill spots went. I feel like looking at the leaderboards, there are fewer names that I associate with going team on the leaderboards, kind of across them all. So my guess is that they're going to be backfilling possibly a shorter, like a fewer number of people than they did last year. But yeah, we'll have to see who's going team in that, because so there's potential, but she's on the outside looking in. All right, I think that's our news and noise for the quarterfinals. So the next games that we'll be running will be for the semifinals. Make sure that you have an account at fantasyfitnessing.com, and we will send you all those kickoff emails as the games get prepped.
Follow us on Instagram at fantasyfitnessing. Keep you up to date with all the news there and some stat posts that we throw in along the way.
And yeah, have fun fitnessing, and I'll see you on the leaderboard.